Let's talk about something almost every creator experiences but rarely admits openly. Consistency sounds easy when growth is happening. Posting regularly feels exciting when views are coming in. Uploading feels meaningful when people are watching. Creating feels rewarding when numbers move. But when views slow down, everything changes. Suddenly, consistency becomes heavy. You start questioning things. What's the point of uploading? Why am I doing this? Is this even working? Am I just wasting my time? And slowly, not dramatically, not instantly, your consistency begins to crack. Not because you are lazy, but because something deeper is happening. And if you stay with me till the end of this video, you will understand why consistency doesn't fail because of discipline, but it fails because of psychology. Now come to point number 1. Consistency is emotionally driven. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Most creators believe consistency is about discipline, but in reality, consistency is heavily tied to emotional feedback. When you upload and get views, likes, and comments, your brain receives a reward signal. It feels good. It feels like progress. It feels like your effort matters. That feeling fuels repetition. You upload again, but when you upload and get silence, no views and no comments, no reactions, your brain doesn't feel rewarded. And humans are not wired to repeat actions that feel unrewarded. So consistency doesn't break because of scheduling. It breaks because the emotional loop collapses. Now come to point number 2. Why low views feels like rejection. Low views don't just feel like low numbers. They feel personal. Because when you create videos, you are not just uploading files, you are uploading effort, time, energy, thought, sometimes vulnerability. So when a video performs poorly, your brain doesn't interpret as the video didn't perform well. It interprets as nobody cares. And silence is psychologically brutal. Criticism is easier, at least hate is feedback. Silence feels like invisibility, like shouting into an empty room. That emotional weight slowly drains the desire to continue, and consistency begins to feel irrational. Now come to point number 3, the expectation trap. Consistency often dies inside expectations. When creators start YouTube, they imagine if I stay consistent, growth will follow. But YouTube doesn't operate on emotional timelines. It operates on data timelines. Growth is delayed, unpredictable, non-linear. So creators experience this painful mismatch. Effort today, but there is no visible reward. Effort tomorrow, but there is no visible reward. Effort next week, still nothing. Eventually the brain asks, why keep investing energy into something that isn't paying back? But this is not weakness. This is human psychology reacting to delayed feedback. Now come to point number 4. Why success makes consistency easy. Look at the successful creator. Consistency looks effortless because success removes friction. Views provide validation. Validation provides motivation, and motivation provides energy, and energy will sustain consistency. But early creators operate in reverse. Low views, doubt. Doubt will create emotional resistance. Resistance will create inconsistency. And consistency isn't just a habit, it's a state supported by belief. When belief weakens, consistency collapses. Now come to point number 5, the invisible progress problems. Here's something critical. While views may stay low, progress is often happening invisibly. You are improving, you are speaking, you are pacing, you are editing, your clarity and your ideas. But the brain struggles to value invisible growth because humans crave visible proof. When numbers don't move, improvement feels meaningless, even though you are building your skills. This creates one of the biggest psychological traps on YouTube. No visible growth is equal to no growth, which is false, but emotionally convincing. Now come to point number 6. Why the brain starts resisting creation. Over time, uploading without reward changes how creation feels. Recording becomes stressful, editing feels pointless, uploading feels emotionally risky. Your brain begins associating content creation with disappointment. So resistance grows. Not laziness, resistance. And consistency fades not because you stop caring, but because your brain is trying to protect you from repeated emotional discomfort. Now come to point number 7, the comparison accelerator. Consistency dies faster when comparison enters the picture. You upload 40 views. Someone else uploads 40,000 views. Your brain interprets this as effort isn't the problem. I am the problem. Comparison transforms neutral data into emotional discouragement, and consistency becomes mentally exhausting because now you're not just creating, you are creating under perceived inadequacy. Now come to point number 8. Why most creators quit here. Most creators don't quit YouTube because they fail. They quit because consistency becomes emotionally unsustainable. They lose belief, not ability. They lose patience, not potential. They stop because effort feels disconnected from reward, which is exactly the phase YouTube forces creators through. Now come to point number 9, the real reframe. Consistency feels hard when you believe growth should already be happening. But what if consistency is not meant to produce immediate results? What if consistency exists primarily to build skill, resilience, identity, and adaptation? What if the quiet phase is not malfunction, but formation? Because YouTube does not reward early effort, it rewards refined performance, and refinement requires repetition, even in silence. Now come to point number 10, how to survive this phase. To sustain consistency without views, creators must shift psychological anchors. Instead of measuring reward in numbers, measure reward in improvement. Because consistency built on external validation is fragile. Consistency built on identity is stable. Now the final message, the quiet truth. Consistency doesn't fail because creators lack discipline. It fails because humans struggle with delayed reinforcement. Because effort without reward feels unnatural. Because silence feels like rejection. Because doubt grows in uncertainty. But creators who understand this phase stop interpreting low views emotionally. They treat consistency as training, not proof. And those creators eventually cross the invisible line where consistency suddenly feels worth it. Not because YouTube changed, but because momentum finally became visible. Lastly, if your consistency has been struggling lately, there is a good chance you are not lazy. You are experiencing normal psychological resistance, and understanding this may be the difference between quitting early or staying long enough for things to work, because consistency is hardest right before it starts making sense. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe and comment. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.